Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the Calder Trophy finalists and getting into who will probably end up winning it. So before we start with that, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So game 2 of the Stanley Cup final is tonight, but we're going to be talking about something else, and that is the awards, as we're going to be getting into that in the coming days and weeks. And so we're talking about the Calder Trophy and the finalists in this one. And for those of you that don't know what the Calder is, or if you're new to the NHL, you're just basically dipping your toes in the league, it's basically Rookie of the Year. And this is always something fun to talk about, because this isn't like an award where somebody is consistently winning it because maybe they are on a big name team and they are going to be getting a lot of that recognition. You have a lot of different players from a lot of different teams that could go out there and get this award. And it's something fun too, because of course you get bragging rights a little bit and you say, oh, well, we have the Rookie of the Year and the entire league, so he could have a very bright future. So with it kind of being done and out of the way, let's talk about all these finalists. So the first player that we're talking about in this one is Bedard. Now Bedard is well known and was well known even before the draft, as he was taken with the first overall pick in 2023, and in his rookie season things went really well for him as he led the rookie class in goals, assists, and points. So he had 22 goals, 39 assists, and 61 points in 68 games played. So to be able to have nearly a point per game as a player in your rookie year is going to be really, really incredible. And he was a player that right off the bat was going to be able to have a highlight reel season. Now, there are going to be a few knocks against him, as he did not have great defensive numbers, especially at 5-on-5 play. And the Chicago Blackhawks weren't necessarily a good team. In fact, they were not a good team at all, even when he was in the lineup. And I kind of get all those knocks, not really, but I kind of get where people are going to have to make arguments against him, as people are already sick of hearing about him even in his first year, because he has already been able to have such a good start to his NHL career. However, we have to look at the fact that he was able to average nearly a point per game on a Hawks team that was not very good. He played a lot of minutes with guys like Philipp Kurashev and then Nick Foligno. No disrespect to either one of these players, but Kurashev had a career high for points before this of 25. So then in his first season with Bedard, he has 54 points. As for Nick Foligno, he is 36 years old and is not expected to be an offensive pillar for the Hawks. So you kind of got to understand there are some things to this, and then you have to realize as well that Bedard missed 15 games at least with that broken jaw that he dealt with earlier in the year. He was leading things for goals, assists, and points, everything actually, before he got hurt. He missed that whole time and was still able to finish tops in all these marks, as some of these other guys ended up playing a full 82 games. So Bedard, highlight reel, ended up having nearly a point per game on a bad team. Yeah, kind of makes sense on to why he was a finalist for this, and I know that his name is going to be circulating the NHL for a long time to come. And then for the second finalist, you have Brock Faber, and this is another storyline that'd be fun, as with Bedard winning, you'd have the first overall pick. You have, in this case, Faber, a hometown guy, winning it for his hometown team. Now, he was originally drafted by the Los Angeles Kings, but ended up getting traded in part of the Kevin Fiala deal. And I wasn't exactly sure, how much this was going to transition, because losing Fiala, who was a good player, was going to be, not fun. But again, some things had to change for Minnesota, and with Faber being in his rookie year, things went pretty well, as he had 47 points in 82 games played and had a plus-minus that was a lot better than Connor Bedard's. And again, we'll talk about all the time how plus-minus is way overrated as a stat, but if you're more of a fan of the traditional stat, Connor Bedard on the Hawks, plus-minus was minus 44, whereas Faber's was minus 1 with Minnesota. Now, I am absolutely going to go out there and say Minnesota defensively is a much better team, and of course too, they had been a lot better team in the regular season in recent years, as they were a playoff lock, a team that could get well over 100 points in a year. And even though they were a team that regressed this season and had 87 points, they still had much higher expectations than Chicago did entering the year. So they ended up missing the playoffs, and I'm not really sure how that will sway people's opinions. But for a team like Minnesota, having a younger guy like him that played nearly 25 minutes a night is huge. And for the Wild, that could be a bounce-back team next year. They did get off to a pretty slow start. Maybe Faber leads the way here a little bit. And again, that plus-minus might be something that helps him out in terms of winning Rookie of the Year, which would be really cool because he played for the Minnesota Gophers and is from Minnesota. So you've got two great storylines already, and then we've got our third finalist. And then the final finalist, which seems weird to say, is Luke Hughes. And I'm sure you've heard of his brothers, and I definitely would imagine you've probably heard of him as well, as Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes, and Luke Hughes are all players that were taken in the first round of the NHL draft over the years and have had pretty good starts to their career. You're looking at Quinn and what he's been able to do in Vancouver. You're looking at what Jack has been able to do as a New Jersey Devil, as well as what his brother is now doing also on the Devils. And it is crazy to think that this trio could have all been on the same team, with Quinn Hughes, maybe heading over to the Devils before Vancouver. Of course, we have to sign him to a long-term extension. Now, with Luke, this is a player that plus-minus really is highlighted as to why it has its flaws, as his plus-minus on the year was -25, but there were 22 empty net goals scored against the Devils when he's out there on the ice. And people will always say, well, when you're out there, that still counts as a goal against. But yeah, come on, it's a little bit different situationally, as the Devils were a team that was really good the season prior, and then they did have a pretty big drop-off. So they're pulling their goalie, trying to get more wins. If you don't have a goalie in net, are you really going to blame a player for all of that? No. So his plus-minus is, again, a little bit skewed here. Now, one thing that is interesting is he did finish with as many points as Brock Faber did, as many games as he did. You wonder a little bit what his edge is going to be in terms of getting the Calder, if it is between him or Faber. But looking at all this, I'd say that his numbers are going to be a little bit harder to impress. Yes, he ended up drawing more penalties than Faber did. Actually had a positive differential on all that, which is really cool to see, as he had 23 penalties drawn compared to Faber's 6. But there were some other things that were completely different for him, as you saw Faber lead things like hits and block shots and all that nature, and played a big role on a team where he had a lot of tough minutes. As for Luke, he played 21 minutes tonight, still a lot of time again for a young defenseman, but I think the knock on him would probably be that he get to play a lot of time with some really, really good players like his brother Jack Hughes, and was somebody that didn't spend a lot of time on the PK. His PK time is dwarfed in comparison to a guy like Faber. So is he going to necessarily be the favorite entering the awards? Probably not. He's probably the third guy in this list, as it's going to be between Brock and Connor. But who knows? Maybe something happens here where his stats really sway the voters. But with some of the things going this way, again, it's probably going to be Faber and Bedard. So with all that being said, who do I think is going to win the Calder? I think it kind of seems obvious right now. It's probably going to be Connor Bedard. And I know some people will probably say, well, is he as good of a player in terms of the defensive game right now as Faber? Probably not, but again, trying to see what Chicago is doing at the moment while Bedard gets a feel for the NHL game is offensively, probably the best player for the Hawks already. Kind of just makes you realize what he has to deal with, and if he had played a full 82 games, he would have 74 points. Points are kind of king when it comes to awards like these, I think, especially, and when he is able to have some of the goals that he had and is on that big market team where he is that big name player and things worked out pretty well in year one. It kind of feels like everything is going in that way for Bedard. Again, he was still able to have a really good year and finish first despite all the injuries or the time missed away with an injury. And if you are one of those people that say, well, the NHL is rigged because of this or this, I think you would kind of lean in that category of, oh yeah, of course the Hawks are going to see their player get the award over a team like Minnesota, which is a little bit smaller, or is a lot smaller in terms of the brand value. But yeah, I just think that this is still a very fun award this year, and Faber had a really good year defensively, especially for such a young player, playing so many minutes, but Bedard is probably going to go out there and win it. But I don't want you to say, oh, well, the league is rigged, so he's going to win this. I want you to realize what he did in year one and say, oh, wow, year two could be incredible, year three could be incredible, and so on. I'm hoping for all these guys that their careers are incredible, and it doesn't come down to just them being like, oh, well, they were a finalist for the Calder their first year and then really dropped off. But anyway, what are your thoughts on the Calder this year? Who do you think is going to win? And who do you think is going to win Game 2 tonight for the Stanley Cup Final? Edmonton or Florida? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go with hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.